Okay, so I think this one is going to be a bit of a reality check for most agency owners, most online business owners. I think that there's this perception or idea that one day when you hit the amount of money that you want to make, things will be fine, problems will be solved. There'll be some point in your life where you've completed life. You have the right amount of money that you want, you have the relationships that you want, you have the setup that you want, whatever it is, right? And problems are going to be solved at that point. Things are going to be all fine and dandy. But I'm here to tell you that if you are the type of person who is creating an online business before the age of like 25 and you're striving to make more money than the top 1% of the world, that's probably not how things are going to pan out for you, and I'll explain why in this video. So if you're not familiar with me, my name is Ben Lister. I've grown 2 marketing agencies right now. My first one to 6 figures, and one's about multi-6 figures right now, and I'm just documenting my learnings on this YouTube channel here that will help me to make 7 figures in the near future. So the first thing I want to touch on is the fact that lots and lots of people, 99% of the people that I speak to, don't have a business partner. They're usually on their own and they are just creating this business by themselves, which is, I think, the right thing to do, because you want to have that difference of skills. You want to have all the different areas covered, and you want to be able to do that on your own. And then you can think about partnering up with someone, or, going into some kind of partnership. Now, the reason why this makes it more difficult, bar the obvious, is that there's less people doing the work, is that if you have a partnership where there's someone with some kind of speciality, let's say, the classic example is marketing and service delivery, right? If you have someone focusing on the marketing, someone focusing on the service delivery, then you have a good match there, okay? But if you're going to do all of those, naturally you're going to drift to one side or the other, or to one department inside of your agency, whether this is sales or service delivery or marketing, whatever it may be. And if you are then going to cover the different departments that you actually aren't a specialist in, then you're going to have to learn these, and it's going to take probably twice as long, if not longer, to actually learn these and implement these. It might cost you a bit more money to outsource this or whatever, but it's definitely going to take you more time, right? It's going to take you more effort and more energy to get the same amount of rewards that it would do if you had, someone that actually specializes in this, right? And someone that is actually dedicated and a specialist in this area. And so it's only until you really start to open the can of worms that is hiring, that is managing a sales team, that is everything else that goes beyond, a 10K a month business. That's when you really start to see that there's so many different hats that you need to manage, right? Accounting then becomes important. Managing VAs then becomes important. The right hires become important. All of these different things, whereas before, you just had to book appointments, close them, and then have okay service delivery, and then things will be fine, right? It gets to the point where if you optimize your onboarding system by 10%, make it 10% quicker, then the results of that are going to be so astronomically high in terms of dollar value, not percentage-wise, of course. Little things really, really matter at that point, and you need to make sure you have your eyes on so many different things, and the workload and the difficulty of that is incredibly high, a lot more than it would be when you just go and sign your first client and you run some Facebook ads. And you probably have some vision now of making a certain amount of money per month, right? Hitting that goal that you've always been thinking about. And one day when you do hit that goal, you will realize that the position that you are in now is nowhere near as good and as attractive and as easy as you thought it would be, right? Oftentimes, there's very famous sayings, right? More money, more problems, but it very much is the case with that. If you are making $2,000 a month right now and you want to scale to $20,000 a month, you have this vision mapped out, right? $20,000 a month, you might have a sales rep, you might not even be doing any service delivery, you might have outsourced the whole thing, right? But when you're operating in a $20,000 a month rate and you have, 10 clients, 20 clients, whatever it may be at that point, if one thing starts to break, if things don't go quite right, all of that responsibility is then going to drop onto you. And even if you outsource this, even if you've completely covered this, you only work for 2 hours a day, whatever it is, eventually when these things break, which they will do because things eventually do need sorting and you need to sign more clients and people leave and all that kind of stuff, that responsibility drops onto you. And so you imagine this world where you have all this money, maybe you're traveling, maybe you're doing something else, you're in a new place, you have a new car, whatever it may be, and these things slowly start to die out. And what you're left with is stuff that is expensive, and obviously you like it and you're in a much better position financially and physically or whatever else than you were before. But now you have all of this responsibility on top of you, and those new things have kind of got a little bit old and they don't actually matter to you as much as you thought that they would do. And here's the thing as well. The further up the ladder that you move, whether this is monetary value or fitness or whatever it is, you're going to start to compare that thing that you have now to the people around you, to the people that you actually that you want to be like. And so if you're making a couple $1,000s a month right now, you might be dreaming on looking forward to the life where you have $10,000 a month. And you might be looking at people that do have that right now and thinking, this person has it all figured out. This person is exactly who I want to be. But they're actually looking at people making $50,000 a month. And those people are actually looking at people making seven figures, every single year, every single month, whatever it is. And so the scale always moves. And if you look at this through any portion of your life, whether, you got a promotion at work or something like that, the things that you have slowly start to get very old, and you slowly start to want more and more and more. And the reason for that, and it doesn't happen for every single person, but the reason for that is it happens for the people who are very conscientious, people who want better things in life. And you might think now, there's no way in hell, once I get to $10,000 a month, I'll be making more money than anyone I know. I will be, in the top 1% of the total world. I'll have a lot more income for my age bracket than, virtually anyone that I know, all of these things. But if you think about it now, there's probably many things that you have in your life right now that you probably take for granted. You probably take for granted the fact that you have fresh water in your house. You probably take for granted the fact that you have hot food every single day, because there's many people in the world who don't have this, and you have this now, right? And so if you're thinking that I'm not going to be, comparing myself to people that are above me, I'm always going to be thinking, wow, this is so great, I'm living a great lifestyle, you should really be thinking that now. And maybe you do, to be honest, maybe you do, but I know that a lot of people don't actually think that. And so you imagine this lifestyle and you imagine this thing that's going to be coming to you where, things are bliss, there's no problems, there's nothing else. But many people would be looking at your lifestyle right now, people in the, the poorest 10% of the world, and thinking, wow, if I had their lifestyle, if I had the education job opportunities that they had, if I had the this, the that, then my lifestyle would be amazing. I would love my life. I would have no problems whatsoever. And obviously that's not the case, because you don't see it that way, right? Because you think your life is not as good as it could be. You want more because you're conscientious, you're driven to actually go and do more. And so you need to start to realize, and I honestly think that a lot of people won't actually realize this until they get to that point, until they make that extra $10,000 a month or whatever it is. They won't actually realize that this is true, because they have to sort of experience it to believe it. And I didn't really think that this was true, to be honest with you, until maybe 12 months ago or so. But when you start to really make a little bit more money, you start to actually grow and have more money than most people around you, have more success, have more opportunities for you, things just start to get a little bit old, and you start to realize that this actually does happen. And so Elon Musk talked about this on a podcast that he was on recently. I think it was the Lex Fridman one. And he said that his mind is a storm. And he said that most people want to be him. They think that they want to be him. They think they want to be someone who is, mega, mega rich, one of the most famous people in the world, changing science and technology and pursuing crazy, crazy goals. He's very famous, has lots of power, lots of money. But in actual fact, because he has so much going on, he has so much responsibility, all of that is kind of outweighed by the fact that he has this money. He doesn't really care about the fact that he has all this fame, he has this money, he has this stuff. That's become old to him already. And once you hit a certain point, once you're obviously a billionaire, there's nothing else you can buy. I'm sure you can get a bigger boat, I'm sure you can get a bigger house or whatever it is, but you don't really care at that point. You've sort of done it all. And so what he's left with is either going to doing nothing, which I'm sure would absolutely kill him, because he has these really big goals, he's super conscientious, like unbelievably driven, and he would never ever go back to that lifestyle of just doing nothing, right? He could probably never ever retire. But now he's stuck with the fact that he has to do this. He has to keep pushing. He has to keep going. And he has all of these problems that are coming his way. So there's sort of two solutions to this, two options. The first one is to keep going, push with these problems, problem solve every day, live a very stressful life as the CEO of multiple companies. Or it's to completely pack it in, right? And to retire and to not do this anymore. And that would eat him up inside, because he's not doing anything. He'd probably get pretty bored. He'd probably eventually want to go back to doing something, right? Whether this was the amount of responsibility that he has now, I don't know, but he would want to do something like that. And that's obviously on a dramatic scale, right? Someone who's worth hundreds of billions and, one of the biggest business people and entrepreneurs in the world that the world has ever seen. But using that same concept, you can still bring it back to what you do. And the fact that you have this business now that maybe is working, maybe is not, and you really couldn't leave that business. You couldn't really ever stop doing that thing, because you are conscientious, you're driven, you want to do that. There's no one really that's telling you to do this. And you're really doing this obviously to make a bit of money, but there's also that element of like, I want to prove people wrong, I want to do this, I want to do that, I know that I'm capable of doing it, so I really should do it. And this is the battle that you're going to be faced with all the time, whether you have this money or not. And there's actually a video that I saw of Elon Musk a couple of days ago, and really this is what's helped me to really articulate this and come up with this idea. Is this was like in the early 2000s. I think he just sold PayPal or something like that. He sold his portion of it, and he was buying a car for $1 million, I think they were saying. And there was him and there was his girlfriend, and the car was getting delivered, and they got it delivered to his house somewhere in California or something. And she was like, wow, this car's worth $1 million. Like, that's crazy, isn't it? And like, he was, maybe in his 20s, maybe early 30s at this point, and he had $1 million car. He was worth probably hundreds of millions at that point. And so he must have thought at that point that his life was figured out, right? She must be looking at him thinking, wow, this person's got it all figured out. He's got the money, he's famous, he's young, he's got all of this stuff. But in reality, he's got a life sentence to the business and to achieving things and to progressing and to doing better things. And that's what a lot of people have, I think, but they don't realize that it's there. If they have the choice of obviously working really hard, having that responsibility, having that stress, or doing nothing at all, and then dealing with the pain of that and realizing that you're not being productive, that you're not actually doing the things that you want to do. Being aware that there's these two options here and neither are really perfect. And obviously there's good things and bad things about both. I think that's going to put you in a really, really good way to actually address this and to know that it's there and to just prepare yourself for when it does come, when you do realize that you're in this situation, because one day you will get to the point that you think you'll be happy, you'll think you have everything figured out, you'll think that this is going to be the point where I'm going to be super happy, super grateful. You'll get to that point and you just won't be. And there's a quote that I heard of Jordan Peterson say. I didn't actually see it. I think someone quoted him saying it, but he was asked a question about, basically asked this question about what I've just said there. What about this double situation? You either work really hard and you put yourself through the stress of this, or you don't and you face the sort of internal pain and pressure. And he said, which is probably one of the best quotes that I've heard for a while, is the only way out is through. You take more of the thing that poisons you until you turn it into a tonic that girdles the world around you. So just to sort of unravel that, if you are basically this thing you have, the poison, the work, the stress, the responsibilities, it's always going to be there basically. And so if you just keep going with this, you keep taking that poison, one day it will be the thing that is actually creates the tonic. You'll start to enjoy it more. You'll start to actually be grateful that it exists, right? That you're in this situation where maybe you wish you cared a little bit less. Maybe you wish you didn't want to have these responsibilities, whatever it may be. And I just think that's a pretty cool quote to sort of wrap this one up. But if you are looking for ways to sign more clients for your agency, for your B2B business, for your online business, click the first link in the description. It's not some email opt-in, some phone sign up or opt-in or anything like that. It's literally just a video of me explaining what my company does and how we do it, how we've done it many times before. But yeah, you don't have to click it if not. I don't really care if you do. But yeah, like the video if you like the video, and comment if you want me to cover anything specifically, and obviously subscribe if you're new. But yeah, appreciate you watching this one to the end. Cheers.